I'm Lysandra with Rub and Restore. We've done some foam reconstruction, we've sub-patched and stitched and glued, and now just to clean up some of these rougher lines, I'm gonna try to blend them out with a little bit of filler. Normally the filler we sell on rubandrestore.com is an air dry water-based filler that's great for the DIYer. I'm not going to use that today because I want to be able to use some heat and compress my filler as it cures in order to get the thinnest, smoothest result possible and the fewest amount of coats. For that, I'm going to use a heat curing compound. This one from Sem is one of the last tubs out there. They don't make it anymore, but there are other ones made by Mohawk, Fitzgerald's maybe. And they're great because you put them on, you can instantly force cure them with a heat gun, and then emboss them with a graining pad. And I've actually made this graining pad using a 2-part epoxy from Mohawk. So first step to any filler repair is you've got to clean it, get off all those oils and waxes. When you're using our air dry filler, rubbing alcohol is usually enough. Denatured alcohol is great. But because I was using a lot of glue and I've got a lot of variables going on here, I'm going in for the big guns. And I'm trying to get off some of this glue residue that I had. It kind of got messy. And anywhere filler is going to be applied, I want it nice and clean. So I want to wait until the leather is totally dry here. So maybe I'll start over here, which the leather doesn't look wet there. And I've got this little rogue thread from my stitching that I did not want to cut. I actually wanted to work it into my filler. And so I'll be applying with either the needle tool, but most likely my palette knife, and then using my plastic spreader or a glossy business card to sort of smooth broad surfaces and help me blend those edges. Oh, and I do want to repair these stitches. And often filler repairs need more than one pass to really get them presentable. I'm scraping excess filler back into my tub. This is not an air dry filler, so I don't have to worry about keeping the lid closed on it so much. I mean, mostly just to keep dirt out of it. I have paper towels handy to constantly wipe my tools clean. So I can force dry it with my heat gun. Again, you need to be careful using a heat gun with leather. If you get the leather too hot, it can cause the leather to shrink and pucker or etch in some way. That's not as much of an issue with vinyl, but some vinyls do also burn really easily and then take off. So I actually have, this is a dual temperature heat gun, and I've got a reducer nozzle on here to concentrate the heat over a smaller area, which I might remove throughout. And as with all fillers, they're usually white, and as they cure, they begin to go clear. If you've got it on there really thick, it may not go totally clear. It might still be kind of hazy. And here I actually do want some close-up heat just on these spots where it is thicker. You want to be careful where the edge of your graining pad is too, particularly on vinyls. If you have that edge on an area that was hot, it'll make a dent. And so I'm closing my eyes and I'm letting my finger be the judge. And this little edge in here feels great. It probably, could use some texture or whatever, but less is more in this case. So I'm just gonna leave that. When I do texturizing later, I'll do that. The surface has already cooled a good bit. And now I'm ready to put more on. You have to let it come back to an ambient temperature unless you want your new filler to start curing instantly as you apply it. So I'm just going to try the card for this one. And the other thing with the reducer nozzle is sometimes it puts a little bit too much airflow. If you get that's why the broader is better sometimes. If you get too much airflow, it moves your filler, and then you worked so hard to get it nice and level, and then it gets this ripple in it that cures. I got the surrounding areas where it's thin cured, but I still need to cure these deeper pools, and I want really precise heat application for that. Okay, this feels pretty good here. I've got a bit of a ridge here and this little divot in there, so I'm just gonna keep working down the line. I've got this little bubble here still, not bubble, but like slight pucker in the leather and this gap underneath, and I'm gonna shove a bunch of filler under there as if it were glue and hope that it cures and with pressure compresses really nicely. And so because in just my last heating, I have this little wrinkle here now, and if I just draw the card along that wrinkle, it's gonna amplify it. So for the next one, I am gonna go opposite the tear, perpendicular, and I'm gonna go parallel with that wrinkle, the valley of that wrinkle, and go this way, and hopefully level that out. Okay, and that looks pretty good. These obviously need cleaning up. Okay, so I can still feel a ridge here, but that's fine. I'm hoping to correct that. I don't feel this valley anymore. I just feel this ridge, and hopefully a pass of the filler this way will correct that. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and deal with this valley and this edge, get it going so that I can maybe just do one nice smooth draw on both. That is a little bit thicker than I want on there, you know, which is gonna make it a little bit stiffer feeling, but it's gonna look better. And I can reconcile all of this in the next pass. Okay, I'm finally building up some heat in this material. I'm gonna let it sit for a minute. Maybe I'll come over and get a coat going on this corner. And again, use my needle to shove it into the nooks and crannies. Here I'm gonna try to go up and then make the curve in one stroke, which doesn't always work, but it's not bad. I'm not using the block this time because I want some really harsh compression on a couple of spots. Yeah, and I think that was a good idea. This still needs more. This is still warm, but not as warm as that. Okay, bounce back to this one. This is where it gets kind of nerve-wracking because you're gonna try to make a lot perfect in one little pass. With vinyl and synthetics, depending how flimsy they are, sometimes you can really super nuke them, take them up to the highest heat setting, which is maybe like 900 degrees or something. And quickly emboss them and level out a lot of imperfections or get them to accept a new grain. You know, you can't overwork it too much. But vinyl, that is an advantage to vinyl that you don't have quite as much with leather. Though you can, with these heat curing compounds, at least the ones I worked with, kind of reactivate them a little bit, get them hot again, re-emboss them, try to rework something without necessarily having to add more filler. I'll let this cool for a minute, do another pass over on this side. Okay, so this needs more. That's okay, this is great. I think I just want to do one more pass. Okay, so this whole ridge feels pretty great. You can tell I've got some weird texture going on here, so I might just reconcile that in a final texturizing coat. Need a little more fill right here. So here I've kind of got, I'm sort of bleeding into this fold, and I sort of want to preserve the shadow on this fold a little bit. So these feel nice and level. I'm gonna do some texturizing on them. First, I'm gonna fix this. For texturizing, so definitely with a heat curing compound, that's what the grain is for, is just that. However, there's clearly something to be desired already in my texture. I've been using it all along. So What I've been resorting to over the years is just a glove, a saran wrap, something like this. And I emboss the wet filler and then cure it. Broadcast it over a greater surface area with the idea that it's going to be very thin. It's no longer being used to fill, it's just being used to blend and hide. They make like spray grains also for this purpose, which I may also resort to, but this is going to do a lot in terms of texture. I'm still kind of leveling it out, scraping away most of the excess. Here we go. And this is a great opportunity to look at it from different angles, and that's already hiding so much. Moving right along. Okay, so I'm texturized. I've got a really great angle on both of these. This one too, and I actually just want to fake it in a little bit more right here, just on this interior edge where I kind of did get messy and didn't see it at first. I think that was a good idea because this is really the eyesore area that I imagine is going to stand out the most once we put color on it. So to have the texture really uniform on that whole panel, even though if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't put filler on something that doesn't need it. That's generally the rule, but I'm hoping it's going to blend appearance that much more and make it less noticeable. And it's quitting time. If I wanted to continue fussing over the texture, I could perhaps use a spray grain. This is not actually a spray grain. This is like bumper guard, but it's also made by some of the folks who make this heat curing compound, or did, and I've used it for a long time on real leather, good quality vinyl, just to fake in troublesome repairs. I don't think I'm going to use it in this case, but FYI. So next installment will be cleaning the whole couch and restoring the appearance of the leather. We are actually going to do a dramatic color change to an emerald green. We're going to talk about working around buttons. We're going to talk about working with the tufting. And once we've done the green, we're then going to go in with a darker version of that green and do a burnishing on all the buttons so it has a really nice antique look.